everyone, and welcome back to the Lovely Freaks podcast. I'm your host, Amanda.
And I'm Hannah.
And if you're new here, hello, hi, how are ya? If you like things strange and unusual, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You can also follow us on Instagram at Lovely Freaks, and you can follow us on Facebook, Lovely Freaks Podcast on Facebook. So, yeah, that's about it. And we are on our 10th episode today.
10th one. So excited.
Yep, number 10. And still looking forward to getting on other platforms. I know I keep saying that every time, but I swear it's going to happen. I told y'all last time at the end, this is the last time I'm going to talk about it until we actually do it. But we should be on there by no later than the end of the month. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about. The world's,
2021.
2021, it's like 2020 because
it's just the same.
Shit's hitting the fan out there. If
a lot of shitty things just keep happening. We're like, okay, well, that didn't fucking do anything.
Our country's, or tonight in Washington, D.C., crap's getting crazy. So, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, because today what's today? Wednesday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Today's Wednesday.
January 8th.
So today, we actually have a serial killer episode for you guys.
Yep.
And hopefully, we can condense this all down into no longer than an hour. I don't want to have to do two parts because I found out that, I feel like when we do two parts, you guys don't always listen to part two. Or maybe not y'all, our avid listeners, but there's people out there that don't always listen to part two because we have, more views on one than the second one.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, because I want to know, how it ends. But,
yeah.
Whatever the case. So, yeah, but I'm going to try to condense this all down. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, today we're talking about this human shit stain, Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, as he was given that name by the media. So, what do you know him because you
watched the documentary about him and stuff.
And then I know him because I've listened to tons of podcasts about him, and then also we both watched, I finished it, but she hasn't finished it, the American Horror Story. And it's got, him in it, I guess, kind of.
It's also in Hotel, too. It's in the 1981, and he's in the Hotel one. But not, a lot, just he's in there.
But I liked the 1980 American Horror Story. We need to get sponsored by them, because we talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
We really do.
I mean, really. We need some money up in here.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, Richard Ramirez was born February 29th, 1960. He's a Pisces. He is one of 5 kids. His father was a former police officer, but for some reason he ended up working on the railroad. And I don't know I think maybe his father was a drinker or something like that. He got kicked off the force or something. Mm-hmm. I can't really remember. But he started working on the railroad, and so his dad was abusive, really abusive. First of all, Richard Ramirez's life was not a good one. It was not a good one to grow up in. It was really bad. So his dad was abusive, and at 2, he struck him in the head, and he hit his head on a piece of furniture. Mm. And then at 5, he was struck in the head with a swing, which actually gave him a concussion, and he started having seizures. So the swing wasn't, his dad didn't do that. He was just at the playground or whatever.
Which we talked about, how many serial killers get their head injured.
There's so many serial killers.
Which I think there's something connecting that. I really do.
Had head injuries, yeah. Because even, I know we talk about nature versus nurture, but even there's some serial killers that didn't have a hard life.
Yeah.
That did get, struck in the head. So I think there's a connection there.
He didn't, he had kind of, but not as much,
Yeah.
He just had little problems, and he was struck in the head, so.
But at the same time, you guys, we're not saying that, oh, poor pitiful him because he had a hard life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have hard lives and they don't go out and
murder other
people. So,
They cope with it healthily.
Healthily. He spent a lot of time, though, with a cousin of his named Miguel. So Miguel was a Vietnam veteran, and Vietnam was crazy, and there was a lot of people that came back with PTSD and a lot of, like, horror stories. I even remember, I think it was someone that my grandfather knew, maybe, or my dad. I don't know. I just remember this when I was younger, but somebody that I remember them telling, like, horror stories of Vietnam, like, you know, they would come back and they would talk about the things that they saw and, like, the people dying and stuff like that. So a lot of death and a lot of, they would, over there in Vietnam, they would, like, rape the women of Vietnam. And his cousin was telling Richard about this. He was telling him, you know, yeah, when I was over there, I would grab some of the women off the street and I would just rape them, you know, or murder and then, like, kill them after that. He showed pictures to Richard of women that he had actually raped, and he, like, had their severed heads. Like, he cut their heads off after he raped them. Yeah. So he's insane.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that Richard is hanging out with at only 10. So he's only 10 years old, and he's seeing all these pictures, and he's associating, like, death and sex and violence and things like that together.
Which I think maybe he started thinking that was, like, the normal, like, everybody thinks this way.
Probably, because I'm sure his dad was probably a douche. Like, his dad was abusive, so there's no telling what he did to his mom.
And his cousin must have not, like, respected women, so he must have thought, like, that's the way women are supposed to be treated or something.
Yeah, and I think he would, like, talk to his, because his cousin was married, and we'll get into another thing that happened there, but I think he would, like, talk to his wife in, like, derogatory way, like, you know, hey bitch, go get me something out of the refrigerator, you know, blah blah blah, like, stuff like that. And he was abusive to his wife. So the same cousin, he also witnessed he also witnessed him shooting his wife. So he shot his wife in the head. I don't know if I think there was, like, an argument they were having, and then he just kind of, like,
blew up and
shot her. His cousin, however, only served 4 years, which is insane. I don't understand why, but whatever. He only served 4 years. I don't know if he had any kind of, like, counseling after that. Like, I don't know if it was, like, of course, back in that time, they didn't really talk about PTSD as, like, heavily as they do now. So nowadays, he would go to prison, and he would also have, like, heavy counseling for PTSD and, you know, being in the war and things like that.
But I wonder what the trial was like to let him get off or something.
No idea. I don't know how he got off for 4 years, but that was not enough. So after being with his cousin, he stayed with his cousin a lot because he hated being at home, obviously, because his dad. And so he finally decided, after his cousin went to prison, he was going to go live with his sister. Well, you'd think that would be great, but his sister had a husband named Roberto, and Roberto was a piece of trash as well. This is just, like, a whole bunch of trash. Like, I don't understand how there's so many people. The men in the family are just pieces of crap. So Roberto was a peeping Tom. He would take Richard, and this is all while Richard is, like, a teenager, you know, kind of growing up, you know, 12, 13, 14. So he would take Richard with him to go be a peeping Tom, like, peep in the houses and, you know, stand there and watch these women get undressed. Get undressed and stuff like that. So, of course, when Richard was a teen, he started associating fantasies with violence. So I'm sure he would probably, like,
imagine killing someone,
or, like, probably look at bondage magazines and things like that, which is not a problem, but I'm sure he, like, would take it a step further. Yeah. So he worked at a hotel when he was a teenager. He got a job there, and he would always, like, rob the guests, but nobody ever, like, figured out that it was him. So one night he decided he was going to rob. I think he saw the husband leave the room, or maybe he didn't know that this wife and the husband were there together, but he saw the woman. And so he decided he was going to rob her. When he entered into the hotel room, he robbed her. He was like, hey, you know, I want your money and blah, blah, blah. And she was giving him his purse and all this stuff. Then he decided he was going to try to rape her. Well, whilst trying to rape her, like during the middle of it, her husband comes back into the room and like beats the crap out of him. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, yeah.
Beats him to like a bloody pulp, and then they call the cops and all that. They arrest him, but he gets let go because they don't press charges, which I thought was crazy. So,
because he was 16?
No. They didn't. They were supposed to have a trial, but the couple was on their honeymoon and they didn't want to have to come back to, I believe it was Arizona.
To testify?
Where we are, maybe. They didn't want to have to come back to testify because I think they were from Florida. And we're in Arizona, so it's a pretty big spot.
I would be so disappointed.
I understand it, but I don't understand why the hotel couldn't press charges because it happened on their property. Yeah. I don't get that. Obviously, he was fired from the hotel, but I just don't. I don't understand that. Like, or even like, why couldn't the state press charges? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they just do that today, but yeah, she didn't want to have to go back. She didn't want to have to worry about it, and so they just, you know, and I'm not saying that
they did live far away.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, I'm not saying that it's because I'm sure over the years it's probably, you know, hopefully it hasn't went through her head or their head, you know, like, oh my God, if we would have just
gone to the trial,
you know, pressed charges, maybe he would have been in prison and not done all that. But honestly, he would have probably only gotten like a year. I mean, if his cousin only got a year for shooting his wife in the head, 4 years. I'm all over the place. If his cousin only got 4 years, then Richard was probably going to get like a year for attempted rape. Yeah. I don't know. So he dropped out of high school after that in 9th grade. And at 22, he moved from Texas to California. So that's right. We were in Texas. These people were from Florida, I believe. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, he moved to California. And so this is where he commits his first murder. April 10th, 1984. He starts I think, living in a hotel. I wasn't sure if he lived there as like kind of like a squatter or if he actually worked there. So he's at this hotel and he murdered a 9-year-old girl. He raped her and stabbed her to death. But so that was his first murder? That was his first one, but they actually didn't connect him to that until like way later. Like, I think maybe like 2000 or something like that. Like, it was.
So he didn't confess to the murder?
No, and it was a long time until they, you know, were able to connect him to that murder. So June, that was in April. Then June 28th, 1984, Jenny, she was found stabbed to death in her apartment, and she lived in San Francisco. Her throat was, she was almost like completely decapitated. Mm-hmm. So he moved down to like the San Francisco Bay Area, and so we're just going to go through all these murders because this is pretty much when it starts. So he goes on like a freaking killing spree in 1985, and all these murders happen in 1985. He gets caught at the end, but there's a lot of murders, so we're pretty much just gonna go down the list here. So it's going there's not much, because I think it's important to like.
How many people did he kill?
I think it was 13. I think he was charged 13 counts, but he broke into 14 homes, I believe. There are some people that he did let go, so it might not have been. He might not have killed exactly 13. I don't know. We'll get there at the end, but he did break into a lot of homes. I know it was 14 counts of burglary that he got at the end, and he didn't kill everybody that he broke into, but he did kill a lot of people. And I think it's important to do this whole list like this because because you'll just kind of be like, oh my God, like, did every night just about? Like, what was he doing? Yeah. Okay, so March 17th, 1985, he attacked Maria. She was 22 years old. He ran up to her. She was like pulling into her garage, and he just like ran up to her while she was pulling into her garage and shot her in the face. She survived, luckily, by holding her hand. Like, so as soon as she heard the gunshot or whatever, she saw the gun, she like put her hand up by her face. And her keys saved her from getting shot in the face, which I thought was really crazy.
That's cool.
Then he goes inside, and there's her 33-year-old roommate, Gail, was in there, and she was kind of like hiding behind the couch, hoping that he wouldn't see her. Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't work very well, because I think he was like ransacking the house. He was trying to steal some stuff, and then on his way out, he heard her. She kind of like peeked over the couch, and he saw her, and then he shot her in the face. Mm. And she did die, and he stole like a bunch of items from there, and that's what he would do. Like, he would always go into somebody's house, which he was also like heavily on drugs and stuff like that, and he was kind of like just a drifter. So I'm pretty sure that's why he was stealing things, because he needed the money.
Yeah, and then he's
for drugs, or he needed somewhere to live, or whatever
reason. But
yeah, like just rob somebody and leave. I'd rather that happen. So the next hour after that, he tries to steal a car from a woman, but he shoots her and runs off. So he's like on the street, and he was like, okay, thinking, I gotta get a car. So he like stops a woman in the, like, on the road.
Yeah.
Like I guess it was probably like a neighborhood. And he tries to like take her car, but there's a struggle, and she won't let him have the car. So he just shoots her and runs away. She survived, though. So March 27th, that was March 17th. So March 27th, 1985, 2 a.m. in the morning, 64-year-old Vincent was sleeping in his room with his wife, who's 44. He shot him, Richard shot him in the face, and then jumped on top of his wife and like bound her hands up and all that, and then started like beating on her, and he was demanding, he was like, where are the valuables, where's your cash, and all this stuff that he does. And then while he was looking for the valuables, she grabbed the shotgun that was underneath the bed that her husband usually has under the bed. Mm-hmm. And so she was standing there. He comes back in the room, and she pulls the shotgun up, and she pulls the trigger, but it doesn't go off, which had to suck.
Yeah.
He then shoots her, and this part's crazy. So he shoots her, he gouges her eyes out, and then puts her eyes in her jewelry box, and then takes the jewelry box with him.
Why?
Yeah, I have no idea why. So I just thought that was really weird. So the husband, that weekend, he had actually taken the bullets out of the shotgun because their grandkids were over. And so he didn't want them to get the gun, and shoot them or something like that.
So sad.
Shoot themselves. So I thought that was really sad. I was like, he was just trying to be a good grandpa, take the bullets out of the gun.
Yeah.
And this asshole comes along, and, that's why there wasn't any bullets in it. So, yeah, he gouges her eyes out and puts them in a jewelry box, and then just takes it with him. He leaves footprints at this scene, though, and he also left bullets, which the police realized later. Like, that's how they kind of realized that they had a serial killer, and we'll get to that, because they kind of used the bullets and the footprints. So, May 14th, obviously 1985, he goes to Monterey Park, and he enters the home of 66-year-old Bill and 56-year-old disabled wife, Lillian. So Bill was in his room, and he comes in, and he tries to like reach for his gun, and Richard shoots him like straight in the face. Mm-hmm. So he's dead. Or no, I think he survives, actually. I can't remember, but we'll get there. So then he goes to his disabled wife, Lily, Lily's room, and he's an actual piece of trash. She's disabled. She's a disabled person. And no matter who it is, it doesn't matter. But he binds her up, which I don't know why he had to do in the first place. Whatever.
He's probably stupid. That's why.
I mean, I think I couldn't ever figure out what kind of disability she had, and I'm thinking maybe she was paralyzed from the waist down, so she was probably struggling. I mean, probably trying to hit him and all that. So I think he bounds up her wrists or something like that, and then he rapes her, and then he leaves her there and goes and tries to like steal shit again, and so he steals a whole bunch of their valuables and everything, and then he just leaves. And I think maybe Bill survived. I don't know why I don't have that written down, but something in my brain wants me to know that he did.
So my brain's telling me yes.
Somewhere I remember hearing that he survived, and of course she did too, because he didn't kill her. So May 29th. I'm going to stop saying 1985 because all this happens in 1985.
Yeah.
So Richard steals a car and he drives to the home. This one is awful. Just hold on. So he drives to the home of 83-year-old Maybelle and 81-year-old Florence. They're sisters. Mm-hmm. He finds a hammer and he beats Florence in the head with a hammer. He binds up Maybelle and beats her too. Mm-hmm. Then he decides that he's gonna do the normal thing, ransack the house, try to see if there's any valuables or anything like that. Yeah. So he finds some stuff, and then he goes back to both of the women, and he starts electrocuting them with like electric shock cords, like cables. Mm-hmm. Then he rapes Florence. 81-year-old Florence.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I feel so sorry for this grandmother. And then he draws a pentagram with Maybelle's lipstick on her thigh.
On her thigh?
Yeah, weird. And on the mirror. So this is when he starts drawing the pentagrams, and this is kind of also what he's known for, because like there's a picture of him in court where he has the pentagram carved into his hand because he says, you know, he's like the son of Satan or some bullshit.
He loves Satan.
Yeah, he loves Satan.
He's my master.
That's what it is. Yeah, he's my master.
I'm like, okay,
whatever. So
I love God, but you don't see me going out there. Being like...
And also, you guys, he's a Satanist, is what he claims, but Satanists are not what he is. Like, they're real Satanists are not murderers or, sorry, I dropped my pens, or something like that. Like, he just gives them a really
bad name.
Like, I'm not saying go be a Satanist, but what I'm saying is
like,
we're not saying that all Satanists are serial killers. So they actually discover them 2 days later, and they're alive, but they're comatose. Both the women are. Mm-hmm. And then Maybelle dies later at the hospital. And I think Florence survived, but she didn't live very long.
So he didn't try to kill him or anything?
Well, I mean, I guess he thought he had killed him because he electrocuted them. He beat them like completely beat like their face in and everything. Yeah. And they're old. I mean, they're in their 80s. So he probably thought he did kill him. I know they were found and they were kind of like in a comatose state, so more than likely he thought he killed him.
Yeah.
So June 2nd, he stole a car, and then he selected a 75-year-old Mary's house. He broke in, and he decided to... He broke in, and then he beat her over the head with a lamp. And he tried to find, you know, stuff, stealing crap or whatever, and then he was gonna leave, but he decided, hey, since I'm here, I'll switch it up a bit, because he's a dick. And so he goes and gets a 10-inch blade out of the kitchen, and he stabs her to death with the 10-inch blade. So she probably would have lived, would it have not been for him just deciding to be even more of a douchebag. July 7th, he enters the home of Joyce, 61-year-old. He beats her, and then he stomps her face in with his shoe.
Wow.
Yeah. So he, like, beats her up.
Kills her?
Oh, yeah, she's dead.
Wow.
So the only crazy thing about this is that his footprint, like his shoe print that he left at that crime that I told you about outside the window.
Yeah.
So that shoe print, they were able to match the shoe print on her face. Like, that's how messed up her face was. Wow. And that's how much he stomped her to death.
Wow.
Was because he left a shoe print on her face. And so they were able to match it up. So that was another connection where they were like, okay, we obviously have a serial killer on our hands. So the same night, January 7th, at 2 a.m., so he had just done that to Joyce, and then that exact same night, he goes to 61-year-old grandmother, Linda. She's also a nurse, and he attacks her. And she said that he was like, she was asleep, and so he woke her up from her sleep abruptly, and he started, wanting things in the house and stuff like that. So he goes and ransacks the house and rummages through everything. Then he comes back, and he tried to rape her, but since he is a douche and he can't get it up, he couldn't perform.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He couldn't perform. I guess, the smashing somebody in the face with a boot was too much that night. He was exhausted.
Or all the cocaine he was sniffing.
Yeah, or the cocaine, or the heroin he was doing.
Or heroin.
So, yeah, he couldn't get it up. And she said, Linda, that's her name. I gotta, all these names. So, she said that she was scared more that he couldn't perform and do that, because she could see that he was steadily getting mad, like madder and madder, and she thought, okay, he's just going to shoot me. I just wish he would, like, if he's going to rape me, just rape me, get it over with, and leave.
Yeah.
But he's probably fisting to shoot me because he's getting so angry. So he obviously just gets so mad and says, screw it, and he just leaves, and he left. And she's still alive, which that's really good. He decides after this that he's going to switch it up a bit again, and he's going to get a machete. Yeah, he gets a machete. He keeps stealing cars because that's what he does. If you're wondering, like, how's this dude getting around? So he will rob somebody, steal a car, not their car. He will steal a car. And then when he gets done with the car after a murder, he'll wipe it down and set it on the side of the road somewhere. So he usually wipes them down pretty thoroughly. Like, the police couldn't get any fingerprints off of any of the cars that he had stolen thus far.
Which is really... because he sounds like a crackhead dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, how can he wipe down a car that thoroughly?
Yeah. So, July 5th... I'm backtracking because I forgot about this. I forgot about this one. July 5th, he breaks into a home and bludgeons a 16-year-old Whitney Bennett with a tire iron while she sleeps. He tries to find a knife in the kitchen, and he couldn't find one. Then he decides to go back in and start strangling her. So this is before he stomps Joyce in the face, and then he tries to rape that grandmother Lydia.
Yeah.
I just forgot this was on my other page. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say this. So this is crazy. So he has beat the 16-year-old sweet angel with a tire iron. Then he goes to the knife, tries to get a kitchen. Goes to the knife,
try to get to kitchen. Goes to the kitchen, trying to get to the knife.
Whoa. Yeah. That's almost like the Capri Sun that we were trying to say earlier.
Yeah.
Y'all, we could not figure out how to say Capri Sun. We kept saying
Capri Sun.
Because
we
were like, that's right. Like, yeah, that's how you say it.
Because Adeline was like, I want my Capri Sun. And we were like, it's not called Capri. It's called, and we were like,
it's Capri Sun?
Is it Capri Sun?
No, it's Capri Sun. Anyways. Okay. Oh, getting off track. So Whitney. Yeah. He does all this to her. Then he couldn't find a knife. So he decides, or a knife big enough, whatever. So he decides to strangle her with a telephone cord. Well, while he was like strangling her, something happens, and I guess it kind of starts breaking. The telephone cord starts breaking or starts coming out of the wall. And sparks are flying everywhere because it's electricity. And he said that he stopped because he said later that he thought God was trying to stop him. So he just stopped and left. I don't understand it.
I'm like, what? Like Zeus took his lightning
the only time. No, like God was intervening.
Oh. Why would he think?
I think God. Yeah, God can intervene, but
like,
why was it that was night, the one? Yeah. And also, aren't you a Satanist? Like, what?
Why? That's the thing that threw me. Yeah, like, you're a Satanist.
Shouldn't you believe in
God? Like,
well, probably, but shouldn't you also believe that
if you do all this, you're going to go to hell?
Satan is better than God. If that's what I don't know. Whatever. Anywho, she survived though. She survived all that. She had 480 stitches.
Damn.
Yeah, lots and lots of stitches, but she did survive. So that was. So we ended with July 5th. So he kind of took a little bit of a break. Not much, but he kind of took a little bit of one.
It sounds like he's going almost every day with these murders.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of days. So he takes a break because that's July 7th that we ended with, and then July 20th is the next time that he does something. So this one is really bad. Full disclaimer here. If you just want to like skip through this part, you can. This one is pretty bad. So that night he breaks into, and I'm going to try to say this name right, but I'm going to butcher it. So 32-year-old Chitati Asawaham. I'm not sure if I said that right. If I didn't, I'm completely sorry. So he breaks into this man's house, and his wife is 24. And they have an 8-year-old son as well. He breaks into their house. He sleeps the husband while he sleeps. I cannot talk. Right.
I was like, he sleeps the husband? Like,
he shoots the husband while he sleeps.
Oh, okay. Shoots the
Man, I don't know where my brain is right now.
He sleeps the husband while he sleeps.
Yeah, he shoots the husband while he sleeps. And then he goes and, ties up the wife and then starts raping her. The 8-year-old boy walks in at this time. I don't know if it's like during this time or if it's they're done or whatever the case is, but he walks down to the living room or whatever, and Richard ties him up and then wants him to tell him and the mom like where all the valuables are in the house and blah 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 blah. But while he's kind of asking them where the valuables are or her where the valuables are, he also sodomizes the 8-year-old with a bottle of lotion.
What?
Yeah, like a bottle of oil, like lotion oils, stuff like that.
How do you do that though?
He, sodomizes and rapes him with a bottle of oil, and he makes the mother watch this.
Oh my god! But I'm saying, like, how can you do that to a kid? Like,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, he also murdered that 9-year-old, so
I know, but. In front of the mom and everything.
Yeah, he does that. Then he drags the 8-year-old boy all through the house or downstairs, and he keeps telling the boy and the mom too. I don't think he drags the mom. I think he just drags the son. That was kind of confusing, but he tells them to swear to Satan, like they're saying we don't have any valuables in the house. There's nothing really of value in this house. We don't have a lot of money, all this stuff. And he's like, swear to Satan that you don't have any, I'm like that matters.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Sure.
But that's his thing. And that's when he starts the swear to Satan stuff. So from now on, you're going to hear whenever he does these robberies, the per usual, he's like, swear to Satan that,
Such a nerd.
Yeah.
Such a dumbass.
Swear to Satan. So...
Shut up, douchebag.
He left them there, and the child obviously got undone or whatever the case is, and he ran to the neighbor's house and, told them that they needed help.
Yeah.
So that same night, like that was, I don't know what time of the night that was, but that was...
The same night?
Yeah.
Man, how you got all this energy to do all this shit?
Cry cocaine, man. So that same night, he drives to the home of 66-year-old Leela and 68-year-old Max. He goes into their room, kills them with a machete, like hacks them up. He shoots them in the head and then robs them. Like, he does everybody. So that all happened on July 20th. So he took a little bit of a break, July 7th to July 20th. So maybe that's why he had so much energy. He got his cocaine fixed during that time.
Yeah.
So
Obviously.
He was ready to go. He was rolling hard. So August 8th, now keep in mind, we're still in 1985. Robert steals a car and then chooses the house of 27-year-old Sakina and 31-year-old husband Alias. I think I said that right. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. He then this was at like 2:30 in the morning, which a lot of these were around that time. I mean, they were after people go to sleep, which that's gotta suck. Like, I would absolutely hate to be woken up to, like, I mean, some of these people literally the survivors, they'll be like, yeah, he woke me up to, like, I felt the cold steel in my neck, like of a gun, and I'm just like, that would be awful. So, and by the way, after reading about him, I triple locked all my doors every night. Like, I was like, I think I locked everything, but let me just go through it one more time. So but you know, back in the 80s, it wasn't a big thing to like lock your doors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, okay. 27-year-old Sakina and 31-year-old, sorry, I paused because I got off track, and 31-year-old Alyssa, I don't know, something like that. So he goes in, he shoots the husband while he's in bed, and he tends to always do that. I mean, the husband's usually the first one to go in these, which I guess it's because he's a pussy and he knows that if they try to get up and fight him, he's gonna lose.
Yeah.
So
obviously. Then
he makes Sakina tell him where her jewelry is, and he makes her, again, like all the others, swear to Satan, tell me that this is where all the jewelry is, blah, 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 blah. So he takes the valuables and then he leaves. Luckily for her, I guess he didn't rape her, but he did kill her husband, so that is very sad. So by this time, police are like linking all these things together. Finally. I mean, it's only been, I'm sorry, but if there was
actual footprints.
I know that a lot of these murders didn't really make sense because they were so different.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe back then, though, you got to think, this was in the 80s. I was going to say, if there was that many murders happen, but here in Mississippi, I mean, where we live, that was that many murders happening, we would, like, know. Yeah, we'd know there was a serial killer. But I guess back in the 80s, there was a lot of serial killers, especially in California. They were dealing with all kinds of stuff. So,
which is weird that there's not much serial killers now.
Yeah, there's not as many.
But I guess because, our cops are so good at just getting them.
You have DNA and you have a lot more
get caught
evidence.
So easy nowadays.
Yeah. And the evidence, is really easy to get now. So they're linking all this together. So they decide during a press conference, the media did their own like little press conference thing or whatever, and they dubbed him the Night Stalker. They told everyone to lock your doors, and they were telling people, it's completely random. This person doesn't know, he's not connected to any of these people.
Yeah. So
the LA detectives were pissed that the media kind of started this frenzy because they didn't want them to know. They didn't want Richard Ramirez, which they didn't know who he was, but they didn't want this serial killer to know that they were onto him. They wanted him to think they had no idea that he was doing this because they were getting closer and closer to putting all the pieces together. So this kind of messed up their investigation. Because Richard saw this and he knew that everyone was onto him. Well, since they linked the sneaker to him in the press conference, they said it. They told the media press conference was like, yeah, we've got sneaker footprints that match and all this stuff.
God, why would you say that?
So Richard takes his sneaker and goes to the Golden Gate Bridge and throws it over. And he's like, yeah, well, fuck these sneakers. Like, why am I going to wear them? So of course. I don't understand why they did that.
Dumbass.
So after he goes to the Golden Gate Bridge, he drives back to LA area, and then August 24th, he breaks into another house outside LA area, kind of outside. So I guess he decided, or he was going to break into this house, and he kind of decided to stay out of the inside the LA area, so he knew that people were looking for him. So inside this house, he sees a 13-year-old James, and James hears kind of like footprints outside the window. And so James is like, tells his mom, he's like, hey, Mom and Dad, you hear like these footprints or whatnot? And they could hear like people walking in the rocks, outside the window. And of course, the media had already told them, hey, this serial killer, or we think it's a serial killer, he's out there like picking people at random. So they freak out and they get scared, and they kind of like make a lot of noise, and then they run outside and they see this car like speeding off, and the 13-year-old is awesome because he gets the driver's license, he gets the license plate. And he goes ahead and calls the police, and he's like, hey, I got this description of this car, this license plate, this guy was like creeping around our house like a weirdo. And so the police are like, okay, bam, thank you. So whilst they're doing that, and the police are like getting their stuff together, and they're fixing to put out an APB on this car, Richard drives to another house. He breaks into the home of 30-year-old Bill and 29-year-old fiance Inez. While they're sleeping, Richard enters the home. He cocks his handgun, and Bill wakes up right as he cocks the handgun. He shoots him 3 times in the head, and then tells his fiance that he is the Night Stalker, and tells her to swear that she loves Satan. He beats her and then rapes her, and then like as he was leaving like the apartment or whatever, or the house, he turns around and he says, tell them the Night Stalker was here.
Oh my god.
So
you're such a douchebag.
Yeah. So she was able to give a very detailed description to the police, and her husband, or not husband, fiance, actually survived being shot in the face 3 times.
Wow.
Or shot in the head, excuse me. So yeah, he survived, which that's awesome. But she was able to give a really good description. And so August 28th, they found the car. So after he thought he killed Bill, and he told Inez, tell them the Night Stalker was here, he dumped the car. Well, they found the car. And you know how I told you, like, he had always, like, wiped down the car fingerprints really well?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he didn't this time. So he wiped everything down, but he missed 1 fingerprint on the rearview mirror. He forgot to wipe that little part. So now the police have a positive ID for the serial killer they've been chasing around. And they run the prints, and wouldn't you know it, they get a match. It's 25-year-old drifter from Texas, Richard Ramirez. He has a long history of drugs and like misdemeanor things, parking tickets, stuff like that. So nothing really substantial, but he has a long like drug rap sheet. So they hold a press conference to address Richard, like, address him like, hey, we know where you are. You need to turn yourself in, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So on August 30th, my birthday, Richard decides to take a bus to see his brother. But this part is really weird. So he takes the bus all the way to Arizona. Like, he gets on the bus from California, takes it to Arizona. But then when he gets there, he, like, turns right around at the bus station and goes back to California. And I think it was because he didn't want to, like, involve his brother. But
into it?
Yeah. And he was probably on, like, a drug bender, and he was really high, and so whatever. So then August 31st, when he gets off the bus, he sees that his face is on, like, all the newspapers everywhere. So he is walking through all these places, and, there's stores and there's shops down the street, and he's seeing his face, like, everywhere on all these newspapers. So he's, like, freaking out, and he's like, okay. So he starts, like, going into panic mode. He runs and carjacks a woman, but she starts screaming, help, 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 and he ends up just like leaving her there. So he starts taking off running some more, and he's running like through all these downtown neighborhoods, and he finally runs into like a bad part of like a rough East LA part. And when he gets there, he tries to carjack this woman. Well, these men, and I guess they were kind of like they weren't like a gang, but they were just, badasses, I'll say that. So these guys saw this woman like getting attacked, and so they run after him and they start beating him with metal bars, and they knock him out, and then they hold him there until the police come.
Good.
So yeah, he runs for like a minute. Like he runs for a long time, like through all these different neighborhoods, and he's like running because he panicked, and then I think he tries to hijack several other people, but once he makes it to East LA, which apparently is like a bad part of LA, I don't know, I've never been there, but from what I've read, it was kind of a rough part of town. So he decided to rob the wrong person that day. So he gets arrested. So good, we've got this douchebag, and he's in custody, and that's pretty much his crime spree. So now we're going to get into kind of like his court stuff and some of the stuff that happens in court. It's not a lot of things. It doesn't last very long, but his first court appearance was February 1986. So this is when he carved the pentagram into his hand, and he like showed the cameras when he was walking in, and there's like pictures of him smirking, and you can see the picture where the pentagram, I think have you seen that picture?
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
And he's like smirking, and then he tells he like says to the camera, "Hail Satan," or whatever. So August 3rd, 1988, the LA Times, they reported that a jailer, or one of the employees, I don't know if it was a jailer, one of the employees there, he said that Richard was like bragging around in the prison that he was going to shoot a prosecutor. I don't know how the hell he was going to get a gun, but he was going to get a gun and he was going to shoot the prosecutor.
Yeah.
So then, all of a sudden, he said he was going to like sneak it in, but who knows? I don't know how he's going to accomplish that. So then, like the next day, one of the jurors I can't ever say that word, was found shot dead in her apartment. So people started like freaking out, which rightfully so.
Yeah.
Some people thought that he really was Satan, and like he was able to like leave his jail cell and go kill this woman and then come back, which why wouldn't he like go kill the judge if that was the case?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that.
Or just walk out.
Or just walk out and leave, yeah. So some people thought that they thought that he maybe had somebody on the inside, or there was communications with people on the outside. Yeah. But come to find out, she actually got killed by her ex-boyfriend or boyfriend, something like that. So, but I thought that was really interesting because a lot of people freaked out when that happened because they were like, oh shit, he said he was going to do it and he did it somehow. So
yeah, I'd be freaking out too.
Screwed.
I'd be like,
so yeah,
some kind of inside man or something.
Exactly. So apparently Richard had lots of lady friends. This is disgusting.
I know.
There were women that sat behind him in court that like worshipped him. They were like his groupies.
He would flirt with them back. He would like wink at them like, hey,
well,
baby.
one of the jurors, he actually flirted with one of the jurors. And she actually said, I remember she said something about how she thought that he was innocent or he didn't mean to do the stuff that he did. He was just trying to like survive on the street.
What?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't involve murdering someone, bitch.
He like would wink at her and like give her these,
googly eyes.
And first of all, he was a good looking guy when he wasn't on drugs. Yeah. When he wasn't on drugs and when he wouldn't smile.
Or wouldn't open his mouth.
Yeah. Because one of the and that's what I don't understand why he had so many fans, because even the women that survived him, raping them and stuff like that, They straight up told them in court, they were like, yeah, he has hella halitosis. Like, he never brushed his teeth. He didn't brush his teeth. Ever. Like, I'm not saying, like, he never brush his teeth. Like, you know, oh my God, you don't ever brush your teeth. No, he literally never brushed his teeth. So, his teeth were all jacked up from that plus crack, probably. And then he also, they said that he would smell, one of them described him as, like, it smelled like a dead, like, carcass. And I'm just like, ugh.
How can you sit there and be like, oh my God, that's so hot. Yeah. After being in court and hearing all that.
You hear about all the murder and you hear about
that
hella halitosis, and he smells like a wet dog. That was what somebody else described
better
him as.
Idols. Love, you know, women.
Love yourself more.
Yeah. Let the bar just rise a little bit. Come on, guys. Like, he just has to be, you know, alive for me to like him.
And slightly good looking.
You know, that's it.
Don't open your mouth. Don't breathe. Don't come near me. Put a paper bag over your head and we'll call it a day.
It's fine. That's all you need. Like, what?
Yeah.
Let the bar be a little higher. Come on.
Like, I can't even, which there are some people that have halitosis that can't help it. They have like gut problems, or they might have like tonsil stones or something like that, or sinus drainage and stuff like that, which I understand. But this dude, his halitosis was because he didn't brush his teeth ever. So he was finally convicted on all accounts. 13 counts of murder. So I was right. 13 counts. 14 counts of burglary. 5 attempted murders. And 11 sexual assaults. On November 7th, the judge sentenced him to death. I mean, it didn't take the judge long. The judge was like, yeah, you're going to die.
Was he death by electric chair or a needle?
It's probably lethal injection. I'm pretty sure it was lethal injection. They didn't have the electric chair in 1980.
Well, I was just wondering.
I think they...
Because I was thinking about the American Horror Story. He mentioned something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was lethal injection.
Yeah.
So, he had a lover. Yeah, that's right. He had a lover.
Yeah. He was married.
No, this is his lover.
Oh, his lover?
His lover was the juror. She became his lover after everything. And her name was Cindy. And she was like the one that was really upset in the interview.
Yeah.
Well, then October 3rd, so this is like jailhouse drama. So October 3rd, 1996, he ends it with Cindy. And then he ends up marrying someone by the name of Doreen.
That, yeah.
And,
which really brings like faith to me about I'll never be alone.
He can get somebody, you can get somebody.
He can get someone in jail. Like, he doesn't even really have to talk to the person.
So, this was 1996. And then I think that little girl that he murdered, I think they found out in in 2008 or 2009, somewhere in there. So, she only divorced him, Doreen, whatever the hell her name is. She divorced him after she found out that he killed the 9-year-old. That was her bar. She was like, you know what?
You can kill women.
You can murder and rape. You can rape all these women, and you can murder all these people and murder these old ladies and sodomize an 8-year-old with a bottle, but killing that 8-year-old girl, I draw the line.
Nah.
So that's when she decides to, divorce him. Which is crazy. So, whatever.
There's some dumbass people in the world. I can't take it.
There really are. So, then he finally kicks the bucket at age 53. He dies in San Quentin State Prison. He actually died of blood cancer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think he turned green, if I remember that correctly. Because I think when you have blood cancer, like, you turn a certain color. I hope
it was really painful.
I hope it was too.
Yeah. Like, extremely. Like, he couldn't move.
I hope it was too. That's what's so crazy to me. Like, and we're pretty much done, but like, talking about it now, discussing what we've just learned about this man. And so you guys see why I wanted to go through like all the murders and all the burglaries, because, dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, almost every day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
2 people a day. I can't even imagine killing a person.
And that's 14 burglaries over that time span. But there's no telling, like, I wonder how many people maybe he, like, thought about burglarizing. Oh, he did say, I remember one time he said in an interview or something like that he was gonna rob this house, but he saw that the owner was, like, sitting in his kitchen, like, cleaning his gun. So he was like, maybe not. And he leaves. I was like, well, at least you're not that dumb, I guess. I mean, but yeah. I mean, it got so bad that the cops were, like, the detectives and the cops were telling people, like, go get a gun. They were like, go get a gun. Lock your doors, lock your windows. You know, hide your kids, hide your wife.
Just hold your gun while you sleep. Just sleep with it.
Sleep with it in your hand.
I mean, honestly, I would do that if this was happening in my neighborhood. I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm just going to go buy a gun and sleep with it now.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the story of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, which actually they're going to have, I think it's the 15th, January 15th. I think they're going to have, they're having like a mini series on
docu-series,
a documentary on Netflix. So I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to do this one before that came out because I know everybody and their mom's going to watch it. And well, I've been wanting to do the Night Stalker, so I was like, you know what, that's perfect time. We'll do him right before that comes out. Yeah. So if there's anything that we missed, we'll see it on there. But hopefully we didn't miss anything.
We watched a lot of stuff. I watched a documentary, and guys, I had a nightmare after watching that documentary. Because, you know, just watching him talk about, you know, like, yeah, I killed someone. Like, he's going, like, describing it like he's going to the grocery store. I haven't watched any
interviews with him, so what was his mannerism? Like, how did he...
He was just kind of cocky.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I killed those people. And then kind of just, like...
Was this, obviously,
and then also he was kind of, like, hippie-ish slightly. Like, he was like, you know, this society makes us this way, man, and all this other stuff. And he was just super calm about it. Like, yeah, I killed those people. And then when they asked, do you feel guilt about killing those people? He just kind of laughed and went, no comment. I was like, God, you're a fucking asshole.
What a douchebag. No comment.
No comment on that one.
God, I gotta go, man. Gotta go back to the yard and do my push-ups, bro. Yeah. I mean, I know he had a shitty life, and he did not understand what
being a human
sex was, and he learned at a very early age that rape was great, it was fine, it was good to do by his sadistic cousin. So but I just still think it's crazy that he kept getting worse and worse and worse, and he didn't have any, I mean, he never chopped anybody up and ate them, but that was probably coming next. I feel like that was going to be the next thing. He would have been, like, sacrificing people and draining the blood out of them or something. I don't know, for Satan. And what he did to that 8-year-old boy, like, I just can't believe he did that.
Yeah. Ugh. I can't imagine killing a person, because that would be so much effort. Just thinking, but, like, not, like...
I want to do the bare minimum.
But, like, think about it, really. Killing a person is, like, very... You gotta kill that person. And then, like, they're struggling, don't get caught.
Yeah.
Like that's
that
would
be my thing. No, number one, I don't want to kill anybody. But number two,
I don't want to kill anybody.
My conscience would eat me alive if I did.
Number two, yeah, that's a good point.
Like I would be that person. I would be the person.
I mean, my conscience still fucks me up when I ran over that raccoon and I was crying that day. I still think about every time I look at a raccoon.
Did you run over? Were you the one that ran over the cat and saw it in your rearview mirror?
No, that was Dad. He ran it over and I jumped out of my dad ran over a cat and I leaped out of the moving vehicle. I mean, we were going like 10 miles per hour, but still I leaped out of the moving vehicle and I held him in my arms as he died and I cried my eyes out and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I cried for a good bit that night. So no, I could never kill anything.
You leapt at the movie.
I leapt. It was like 10 miles per hour. He was just like, oh, well. And I was like, oh my God. I opened. He was like, what the fuck? Hannah, what are you doing? He literally got out of the car. What are you doing? Get in the car.
How old were you?
15. 16, maybe 17.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't too young.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd do that now. I'd leave out the car. I thought about stopping on the side of the road with a raccoon, but I was going like 60, so I was like, I better not.
Somebody, I think it was Mom, she accidentally ran over a cat, and then she, like, looked in her rearview mirror, like, she wasn't going to, but she just did it, and she saw the cat, like, meowing, like, with his head up. Yeah. I've never ran over anything like that. I've ran over a squirrel, and that's it. Because if I ever ran over a cat, it would be bad. Yeah. But you can ask my husband, like, my conscience would eat me alive. He'd be like, yeah. Amanda would be the first to be like, she'd go murder somebody and then come back, like, that night. And she'd be like, yeah, so I murdered someone? What?
While murdering, calling the police. Yeah. I just murdered someone right now.
I lost it and they're dead. Because, yeah, that would be me. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it either.
Well, at least you guys know we couldn't be murderers. Yep. Woohoo! There you go. So yeah, I guess that's it. I guess we're done. The next thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys because I'm excited, is Skinwalker Ranch. If you don't know what it is, don't look it up because I want you to be shocked and surprised. It's pretty freaking awesome.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
And terrible. Terrifying, not terrible. It's terrifying.
It sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Just
It has to deal with, like, it's one of the most supernatural places on Earth. I'll put it that way. It not necessarily, like, demons or anything like that. It has to deal with, like, aliens. We're going to talk about aliens, portals, monsters, Bigfoot. We're going to cover it all. Oh. Like, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that happens on Skinwalker Ranch. And I watched a 2-hour documentary the other day about it. It was a long one. But I've got way more research to do before I start, planning that. But so this episode will be out Friday. We don't have a Wednesday episode for you guys because we're actually recording today. But
we figured the hour long would be.
Yeah, this one's gonna be an hour, and we're at an hour 2, and we might be like an hour 5 by the time we actually get off here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I already told you guys where you can follow us on social media. Go ahead and like this video if you did like it. And yeah,
subscribe, get our name out there.
Yep. All the pictures will be up and on our Instagram like they always are. If you guys don't know, I always post more pictures on our Instagram and I have like a description of what they are because sometimes on our channel like I won't have all the pictures or I'll just have a few but you won't get a description of what they are. So I do that on our Instagram page, so you can go there and follow us. Also, you guys can buy us a cup of coffee. I know I've said that before, but it's on our link tree. I don't really know how to say that.
The link
thingy
mabobber.
The link thing that you click and then it shows you where all our social media is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a place on there where you can buy us a cup of coffee, and it just helps, like, basically any money that you guys give to us or whatever. We're not actually going to buy a cup of coffee. We're going to put it back into the podcast.
Yeah.
So that way you guys
we can video each other.
Do a video?
Yeah.
You want to do a video now?
Yeah.
You're okay with it now?
If I don't see myself. Look, I have this fear.
She doesn't like
I don't like seeing myself. I have this, like, I can't, like, if anyone's videoing me, it's like, kind of like a, I don't know. It's just, like, I have a panic attack and I'm like,
yeah. There's a lot. Well, there's some people like that. And there's even some YouTubers that are like that I've heard them talk about.
I don't know. I just don't like it.
They don't like seeing themselves.
It makes me hate. I mean, I look.
But they have to edit themselves. So I'm like, how does that work? I don't know.
You just edit. I'm just going to be like, I don't want to look at it. I bet it sounds great.
I really want to do that, though. I'd have to get my mother-in-law to help us because I'm not exactly sure how to video record and then, like, put on.
I don't know where we're going to do it either.
She knows how to do all that. We've got to do the photo. So we're going to be doing a photo shoot soon. Probably this weekend. We're going to do a photo shoot. And we're going to have a logo. I've got a friend of mine working on a logo for us. And we're going to make, like, a whole new picture. So the Lovely Freaks picture that we have, I actually took that picture and, like, I did it on a little chalkboard thing that my daughter has. So that we're probably going to scratch that and we're going to have a new one. But yeah, I want to do the photo shoot this weekend. Remember that I talked about? Yeah. All right, well, we've made it to a minute. A minute. I wish.
No.
That was quick. We've made it to an hour and 4 minutes. I guess we're going to hop off here. So you guys go ahead and follow us on all the social media that we said, and we hope you guys like this podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.